Hey guys, today we're going to be talking about something that's widely debated on the internet and in social media circles throughout the internet. It's open carry versus concealed carry. You hear it all the time, and it's a good, honest debate in most cases because people are pretty firmly trenched in whichever camp that they belong to. However, it's like I say about everything. There are choices for a reason. Not everything is a one-size-fits-all. Let's talk about it. First of all, let's state the obvious. Open carry is going to be whenever you are openly displaying your loaded firearm on your side in public. Not all states, not all cities. I'm not going to pretend to, nor am I going to try to deliver all of the laws that relate to each one of these guys. But you've got to know your local laws before you attempt either one of these. But again, open carry is openly displaying the firearm on your side as you go out in public, whereas concealed carrying is concealing your firearm on your person and completely concealing it, trying not to print or show that you actually are carrying a firearm or anything like that. So two completely different forms of carrying, and they both have advantages and disadvantages. Okay, starting out with my open carry guy, probably and obviously the biggest advantage to open carrying is the very fact that you have accessibility and easy retrieval. You can go right to the firearm. If you notice, I have my TAT-3 target with his arm back like you would normally move back in order to retrieve the firearm. You can easily get to it. There's no clothes to move out of your way. You can do it with one arm, one range of motion. In other words, you're not having to move your left arm to move your shirt out of the way. You can just go straight for the firearm and retrieve it. And when you pull it out, there's no guns to, there's no clothes to inhibit pulling out of your holster and going forward towards your target if you have to. And guys, I'm gently inserting this into this leather holster. This is a 1791 gun leather holster that I'm using here. It has really good retention to it. So purposely, I'm not shoving it all the way down in there because it's a little hard to get out when it's not actually on your side. So that's why I'm doing that. But anyway, this is very, very easy in an open carry situation to retrieve that gun, put it where you need to go. And that's probably the biggest benefit that I see to open carrying. Are there others? There might be. You know, in a lot of cases, whenever you have a concealed carry situation, and we'll talk more about that in a minute, you have the situation of lint and whatnot getting in your gun. You're gonna have a cleaner gun like this. And I'm not saying it's gonna be totally clean. You're still gonna have some issues with body sweat, things of that nature still getting to the firearm itself. And of course, you're gonna have some of the cotton or the lint that might come off and still get on the firearm itself, but it's not inside your clothes. So you're gonna be getting a whole lot less of that in an open carry situation. So the cleanliness of the gun as well, it's gonna have to be maintained a lot less than it would in an open carry situation. Those are probably, in my opinion, the two biggest benefits that I see in an open carry environment. Now, some people will debate that there's an advantage to open carrying in that you are, and I don't want to use the wrong terminology because I don't want to seem like I'm picking sides here, but you're trying to scare off an attacker. And the thought process is that if they see you open carrying, they're going to think, oh, I'm not going to mess with that guy. This guy's carrying a gun. I don't know that I totally agree with that, because if a person is seeking to do other people harm, regardless of the situation, if he wants to rob the place, if the guy is really truly committed to it, this guy might be the first person that they take out because they see this. Yes, there is a chance that some criminals are very, very lazy, and outside of being lazy and sometimes stupid, they don't want to be shot. So yes, I don't debate the fact that a person who is, say, like a small-time thief or maybe not a totally committed thief, that he may see an open carry guy, and instead of robbing that particular liquor store, he may move on to another one. That's a very strong possibility, and I can't say that that's not the case. However, if you have, let's say, a mass murderer, somebody who's looking to just kill a whole bunch of people, this guy's going to probably be the first one to take a bullet in the head, because they're going to see this because he is open carrying. There is no element of surprise here, and more than likely, that person who is seeking to do other people harm is probably concealing his firearm that he's going to use to kill everybody else. He's usually not going to walk in open carrying it and holding up so everybody can see it. Big downside right there. I also feel like, and this is going to be the controversial thing that I'm going to say, I feel like you sometimes open yourself up to unnecessary and unwanted scrutiny when you open carry. Now, I do believe there are some attention seekers out there well, that's not I do believe. I know there are some attention seekers out there who try to open carry in public and they videotape it or they live stream it because they're trying to get likes, views, whatever, and they're trying to get a little bit of attention. They do that simply for the attention. It's not to prove a Second Amendment point or a constitutional point or anything like that. So to me, they're just trying to draw attention to themselves, and they're very successful at it because that's the kind of stuff that people watch. That's the kind of stuff that people see. Same kind of goes for a guy who's not trying to do that, but he's open carry. He's drawing attention to himself. And many times that's unwanted and unnecessary attention. Out of fairness to these guys, they're not seeking to do anybody harm. In many cases, these guys are exercising their constitutional right to open carry, and it is a right that we all have, and we all should have, regardless of the state that you live in. So I support the fact that they're doing it. It's just the very nature that everybody out there is simply not a Second Amendment advocate like we all are. And I know what you're thinking. Those of you that open carry, you're thinking, I don't care what anybody thinks. That's great, and I have no problem with that. I have no problem with the fact that you feel confident in the way you carry and that that's your right and you can do it and you don't care what anybody else thinks. That's awesome. It doesn't change the fact that people get squeamish. If I try to fly as much under the radar sometimes as I can, so I'm not trying to get that unwanted attention. Most people who are trying to do others harm are not going to be safely carrying a firearm on their side in public. They're going to be brandishing that weapon, or they're going to hide it until they absolutely want to start shooting people. So rarely are you going to see a guy like this who's a true threat to anybody in society, but unfortunately, people don't see it like that. One final note on the disadvantages of open carrying is, again, you go back to the person who spots you. Okay, action is always going to be quicker than reaction. If I am approaching this guy from behind, and even if this fella has really good situational awareness, if I'm minding my business and I'm not doing anything to draw attention, he may actually see me, but he has no reason to think that I'm going to do him anything wrong, because I might be concealed carrying my firearm that I'm about to use to kill a whole bunch of people, including him. So this guy may see me again, but doesn't consider me a threat at that point. I may be standing behind him in line. I may have a bag of chips or something like that, and this guy is just thinking that everything's fine and everything's good to go and there's no threat in the area. I'm the threat, okay? I have direct access to his firearm. I can reach in here, and I have two hands to do this, right? I have a hand that I can very easily push him and his shoulder, and this arm that's going to be the only one that really can do me anything, unless this guy is some kind of mixed martial arts expert. But I can push that elbow and that arm up, and I can access his firearm, and I'm the action. Now he's reacting. So I did the primary movement into his firearm, and I am grabbing his firearm. And yes, he's going to pull this, probably swing this elbow back into where I'm pulling this firearm out of his holster. But I've got my left hand, and I'm stopping him. He's most likely got one in the chamber. Bam, I got one right in his kidney, and I can do whatever I need to do. He's completely disarmed at this point. I'm not saying that every single person who is going to do what I'm demonstrating here is going to be a super duper tactical paratrooper and can pull this off as cleanly as I just showed you. What I'm saying is this guy is clearly at a disadvantage to me because he's simply reacting to my action. I'm the one initiating that movement first. He's simply reacting to what I'm doing. So I have the total element of surprise, and this guy has no element of surprise. He's trying to figure out what's going on. And look, let me tell you another thing. You don't know what he's reacting to. The last thing he probably wants to do in every single case is when he feels somebody brushing against his backside or his gun, is to automatically have the reaction of drawing his gun and shooting that person. What if it's a child? So up here, he's also got to assess what is going on. So if he's a responsible gun owner, his first instinct is not just to hurry up and clear the guy, pull the gun, or wrestle the gun from the guy and shoot him. He's still got to assess what's happening in a split second. A lot of things going on right here to this guy that puts him at an extreme disadvantage. Now we've got our concealed carry guy. Now, on a totally unrelated note, I will have a video later on about what type of dress you need to implement depending on which type of carrying that you're using. This is probably not the best concealed carry shirt to put on someone with this kind of linen, not linen, but rayon type material. You'll notice probably his biggest disadvantage is going to be the fact that he, unlike my open carry guy who could simply, have his left hand preoccupied and only use one hand to retrieve that firearm from his open side over here and just pull it and shoot it. This guy here kind of needs two hands. I realize there's a technique where you can use your thumb and come up and pull that shirt tail and then get to your firearm. I realize that. But in a high stress situation, when motor skills are not doing the things they want to, in most cases, you're gonna wanna have that second hand over here and pull that shirt up to retrieve that gun. So you're kind of having to implement both hands at that point. So a couple of things it does. This guy over here, if he had to, he could fight off somebody with that other hand and retrieve that gun and make contact with it. This guy probably could do the same with a little practice. Even though he's trying to fight this guy off and pull that shirt up, he could do it, but it's gonna take a lot of practice and a lot of range practice. And I gotta tell you, sometimes some dangerous range practice, because I see people trying to practice drawing at the range with live rounds, and they're not doing a really good job of it. That should be done in a dry fire environment at home, completely safe with an unloaded firearm, until you get good enough at it to practice it with live rounds. But again, he could do it, but it's less likely that it's gonna happen. There are tons of pros here. The main one being the element of surprise that we talked about earlier. Okay, this guy wearing the proper clothes, you would not see that he was carrying. We talked about unwanted attention. You don't have it with this guy. This guy walks into public. If he's dressed properly, he's not printing, so no one knows that he has a firearm on him. Now, that brings us to what we discussed earlier with our open carry guy. If there's a guy who has entered the place where this guy is, who wants to shoot it up, he has no way of knowing this guy is carrying. No way of knowing, because he's dressed and he's not printing, so no one knows. So for one thing, he's not going to be victim number one. In most cases, he's not going to be victim number one unless he's right next to the potential shooter. But I will tell you, there's a mindset to people who carry, both open carry and concealed carry. There is a mindset, and I mind you, I know what I'm talking about. Those of you who have never carried, if you start to carry, you will know what I mean. Those of you who do carry, you know what I mean. There is a completely different mindset when you have a loaded firearm on your side. You are way more self-aware than you normally would be. And again, I'm speaking from experience. The first time I carried a loaded firearm in public, I felt like I had superhuman strength as far as noticing things, hearing things. It seemed like my situational awareness improved dramatically, but it was because I recognized that responsibility that I had with a loaded firearm on my side. I don't mean to save the world. I don't mean that I knew that, no, I have a gun, so I'm going to save the world. No, I'm talking about from a danger standpoint. I immediately became aware of everybody so that I could always mitigate that chance that somebody is going to take my firearm from me. So your situational awareness it expands by, I don't know how many percentage. And so you're much, much more aware. So this guy being a victim, the fact that he is concealed carrying, he's going to probably notice that suspicious guy that has those strange movements, that shifty eye contact, and all the things that might indicate that somebody has an issue. He is probably going to already have a game plan in his mind. He's probably going to know when this guy goes to work and tries to do whatever negative thing that he's wanting to do to kill people, this guy already knows where he's going to go. He's already figured out, there's my cover over there. That's where I'm going to get. He's probably already spotted children and women or older people that he needs to shove out of the way. You know what I mean? There's things that, and again, it goes with open carry also, but carriers do this. This guy's going to have more time to put his plan together because he's not being singled out. I'm going to tell you one more disadvantage that I notice when we talk about that unwanted attention that I've seen with these guys. Sometimes these guys get so sidetracked and distracted with that unwanted attention that they may not notice. And it's almost like they try to get tunnel vision to not engage or look at every single person that is looking at them funny or saying something to their mom or their sister or their brother. You know, hey, that guy's got a gun. You know, they see and hear so much of that sometimes they block it out so that they're not constantly having to engage with that. By doing that, you're almost creating a little bit of a buffer where you might be signaling out some of those other things that you kind of need to be aware of. This guy's not going to have those challenges. Nobody's going to be saying, hey, that guy's got a gun. That guy might be carrying a gun. What's he doing with a gun? Nobody's saying that. This guy has the ultimate element of surprise. And let's say for some reason I see this guy is printing and I can see that he's got a gun. Now I'm the threat and I see it just like I said over here and I'm retrieving that guy's gun. All right, just like I said on this guy, if I'm wanting to push his elbow out of the way, for the same reason that he has that slight disadvantage accessing that firearm, I do too. Because now I have to retrieve that gun by pulling his clothing up, exposing that gun. So now this right arm that could have been used on this guy to engage me and push me off, but he couldn't because I had a free left arm because his gun was open. Now this guy right here has that free arm because I'm having to use the arm that I would have normally put on his elbow to hold this arm up. Now I've got it on his clothes down here so that I can retrieve the firearm. So this guy does have a little bit more of an advantage to fend me off as well in the event that I do see that he's carrying and I try to take his firearm from him. Friends, there's a lot of people out there that try to force their opinions onto you and I all the time. We see it with a lot of the popular gun YouTubers out there even. They're always trying to tell you that their way is the best way. They're trying to tell you that whatever way you might be doing it is wrong. They try to tell you what you should shoot, what caliber you should shoot, what holster you should use, what method of carry you should carry, what gun you should carry, and they think you're crazy if you do anything outside of that. Guys, I've got a break from that. I don't believe in that. I truly believe that what you carry, how you carry, what you shoot, what caliber, what clothes you wear, what music you listen to, all of that is a matter of preference and what fits you. The choices you make, that's the beautiful thing about America, the choices that we all have to make, the liberties that we have. We can choose whatever we want. If you want to open carry or you want to concealed carry, my advice to you is do it responsibly and do it safely. If you have the right to do either one of these types of carrying, then do it. If that's what fits you, do it. But again, I gotta repeat, the responsible nature of it and the safe nature of it. We've got to do those things, guys. There are pros and cons to each. Look, I mean, I'm not trying to tip anyone's hand. Clearly, I think there's more advantages to concealed carry. For the record, I conceal carry. I will open carry whenever I go hunting, say for hog hunting or something like that, where I do want to have that quick access in the event that I corner a hog in a bush or something like that. I want to have that 10mm on my side open and easy to get to as quickly as possible. Now, I know by the same token, you're saying, well, that same concept can be applied to everyday life. Yeah, but my chances of being attacked by that hog in that bush are a lot more likely as I walk towards that bush and kick it to try to see if the hog is dead. That's not as likely to happen in real life. Plus, again, it goes back to training in many cases. I train concealed carrying a lot. I dry fire train at home a ton, retrieving my firearm and trying to get the right method and the right mechanics down to make sure that I can do it so that if I'm ever approached in a high stress situation and have to retrieve my gun, then I can do it in a safe, responsible, and effective manner. It all goes back to training. It's choices and training. You choose whichever way you want to carry, and then you train accordingly. When that time comes that you have to actually retrieve that firearm, you're going to be ready.